So how does someone raise $5 million in 30 days? Or more importantly, how could you raise $5 million in 30 days? Well, I have with me here Hunter Thompson, who is an expert in this. He actually did a conference called How to Raise $5 million in 30 Days. He himself has raised $55 million. Incredible. And so he's going to share with us kind of how he did it. So Hunter, welcome. How are you today?
Hey, thanks again for the opportunity. Doing
Awesome.
well.
So good to have you, man. So talk to us. $5 million in 30 days. How does one go about doing something like that if they've never raised money before?
Well, first of all, it's an important metric because if you can raise $5 million in 30 days, you can purchase some of the most favorable investment vehicles in the world, from my perspective. That's where the beginning, from my perspective, at least, where you start to get those really advantageous 150 unit, 200 unit properties in some really excellent markets, and maybe just 100 units in some more, I guess, less secondary or tertiary markets. And if you can do this, if you can do it consistently, you can play with some of the best in the world. But if you can't, you can't, right? And that's the big thing where we have noticed that there's a lot of people out there that are excellent at underwriting, are incredible at identifying great markets, are very knowledgeable about the real estate business. But if they can't confidently come up with the money in a 30-day period or a 60-day period, depending on how long escrow is, their supposed advantage they have over their competitors is limited to theory. And, I want to help people solve that problem. So like you said, I did a summit about this, and I think it's actually still available. You can check it out at 5millionin30days.com. The 5 and the 30 are numbers. We did some excellent interviews in the process, but the way you do this is the opposite of what most people think about when they think about raising money. When most people think about raising money, they kind of view themselves at the center of the circle, and their goal is to go out to their rich friends, their rich family members, maybe they're not so rich friends, and try to convince them to invest with them. And their goal is, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to show them this excellent deal. And we all know the big myth of the real estate sector. If the deal is good enough, the money just shows up somehow. And the thing that's so frustrating about this, the thing that makes me crazy, is that it kind of works a little bit, because you can go, and with enough time and with enough fortitude and with enough not taking no for an answer, you can raise $25,000, $50,000, but eventually you're going to hit a big hurdle. You're going to hit a wall when you exhaust your natural network, or you get the people that invest with you once. They're not going to invest with you twice if they're not like born into this world of real estate investing. They're thinking, hey, when am I going to get my money back? You need more money? What happened? You spent the other money? That type of stuff. And so what I kind of talk about in my book and at that summit is I want to build an infrastructure that's set up to attract endless leads. He's always tried to say like 100 investor leads each week, and then convert those leads eventually to giving you 100,000, $250,000, all through online mechanisms that are scalable, repeatable, replicatable, so that you can go from ice cold, never heard of you, I'm skeptical, to, oh my gosh, I love you, I'm so obsessed with you, like everything about your business is exactly the way that I would set up a business as I was in your position. Here's $100,000. And it sounds like an infomercial, but I've done it over and over and over again. So that's how you do it. I'm happy to give more tactical information, but that's the structure.
Yeah, no, that's it. No, it's something that comes up a lot for me. Because a lot of people wonder, Bronson, how do you raise money? I've raised about 20 million, and it's just, you don't just go from 0 to 20 million or for you to 55 million. Like, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of work. And I think you and I both have stories, Hunter, where we went to all of our friends and family. And I think I had, you did it in person. I did it just all kind of individually. And I had 63 people that I did a survey with, and I was confident, these people were going to invest, and no one invested. And it wasn't until I started my own real estate meetup and actually started, being seen as an expert and providing content, and just really started providing value to people, that people started seeing me as a person of value. And I think that's something that a lot of people really miss when they get into this. They just think, oh, like you said, and I love it, you shared that the deal does not necessarily mean that you're going to get the money. And a lot of times people think that, but it really comes down to who the person is and who this person's been. And if someone's starting out in, real estate and they're a car mechanic, or they're an engineer, or they're a doctor. People know them as Doctor So and So or Engineer So and So. They don't know them, so starting to tell the story is really, really important. So can you talk to us a little bit? You're really, really good at this, but how do you create content that just really sticks and really draws people in, that people see you as an expert, or they see you as someone of value that they would want to invest with?
So I think that, the phrase "the riches are in the niches," I think that is a good lens through which to view the space. But you have to be very cautious about how you do this, and you have to be very intentional about how you do this. So I have a coaching client of ours, take Tate Duryea, who started a company called Turbine Capital. And his one-liner is passive income for pilots. And you look at the photography, you look at his logo, which has a turbine, like an engine of a plane. And he's a pilot himself. And by the way, a lot of pilots are high income earners. And so he's built a business, and the brand looks specifically like it's catering almost exclusively to high income earning pilots. Now, the reality is probably 5% of his investors are pilots. But the recognizability, the fact that I share his name every time I do a speaking, is just a very pronounced example of a niche that he picked. And then everyone that's a pilot that finds out about investing passively, they know that's the guy for him. But what ends up happening is just planting your flag in the ground with a good niche. That's a high income, able to invest type of niche that likes to travel, doesn't want to own real estate actively, but would like to have some passive income. There's a lot of makings of a solid niche there. So just that notoriety, that recognizability of the brand is really pronounced. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, some people hear that and they say, well, that's super niche. Like, I don't want to build a business around pilots, for example. You look at my brand, which is ASIM Capital, and there's a lot more to learn from this, I think, than just using the brand analogy. But the name is short for asymmetric returns. I intentionally want to cater to savvy, sophisticated investors that are not making their first investment in real estate and are likely making their 10th investment in real estate. So I intentionally exclude a lot of people from my audience. I don't do podcasts about the Burr strategy. I don't do podcasts about what is self-directed retirement. For goodness sakes, that's a pretty advanced strategy. And I don't even cover what it even is. I discuss what you should be investing in your self-directed retirement accounts. Should it be debt? Should it be equity? Should it be venture capital? These types of things. These are the questions that I'm actually asking. So what I've done is I cater to investors who are probably looking at all my competitors. They're very problem aware, they're solution aware, and there's all their competitors. They know all of my competitors. But if I can build something around them that creates this ultra high buy-in, because the level of the quality, which is like intermediate to advanced, I can get investors to move over a significant portion of their portfolios to our investments. And I've seen that happen over and over again, as opposed to someone trying to convince their investor base that investing in syndications is not a Ponzi scheme, for example, which I don't do a lot of either. So, if you go to our website, asymcapital.com, you click podcasts, you're going to see some targeted interviews that I have done that they're very detailed, they're very deep, and they're usually 45 minutes or an hour long. That's a very different audience than some of my far more popular competitors, but it's not the number of downloads that I'm looking for. It's the buy-in of those people that are listening.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's this article by Kevin Kelly. You can search it on the internet, called 1,000 True Fans, right? If you
Yes.
have 1,000 true fans that buy all of your products, let's say you sell whatever you sell and it's $100 a year, you have 1,000 people that do that, you've got $100,000 a year. A lot of people don't realize you don't need that many people that really buy into what you do. And if you can really get into a niche, and that's something I've thought about as trying to build my YouTube channel and build this show and build other things. It's not trying to reach everybody, right? I'm trying to reach the wealthy professional that's trying to figure out where to put their money, or do I do it myself? Do I not? Answer some of those questions. For you, Hunter, I think one thing I really admire about you is you've scaled very quickly. Obviously, you've written your book, which is phenomenal. I recommend everybody goes and checks it out. But you also have this community called Raise Masters, where you basically have now over 100 people are in there, and it's just really high level content. And I just want to see, kind of as a coach, because again, you've gone from being somebody who's doing this to now you're really coaching and teaching others. And I think that's really great that you're able to give back in that way. But what are some things that you see for someone who has started out? Maybe they've raised a little bit of money for a deal, but they've kind of plateaued. Maybe they just feel like they can't get past a certain point. I know every business owner, entrepreneur kind of goes through this where they're like, how do I get to that next level? What would you say to someone who is, they've been doing it, they've been trying, they've been going to meetups, they've been putting things out there, but it just doesn't seem to be kind of going to that next level? What kind of tips would you give?
Well, first of all, it's not your fault. This happens to every real estate entrepreneur multiple times in their careers. And there's a reason it's called the next level. It's because it is the next level. What got you to where you are today, regardless of how far along you are in your growth curve, is not going to get you to the next level, because that's the whole point. So it may have happened once when you tried to raise your first $300,000. It may happen the way it happened with me when I tried to raise my first dollar, which I failed miserably. And you mentioned the book. I haven't said the name. It's Raising Capital for Real Estate. You can check it out at raisingcapitalforrealestate.com. Or there's a big hurdle that takes place when you're trying to raise 5 million, and then 10, and then 25, and then 50. And there may be another hurdle at 100. I don't know. I haven't been there yet. But the systems and processes you set up to get to right around 10 or 20, those things should be able to take you to the next level over and over and over again. But there's levels to this game. And so as someone who prides myself, and I think one of the most fulfilling things I do professionally is help real estate entrepreneurs get to where they want to go a lot faster, is avoiding them having this misleading success, which is that, the systems and processes that created the relationship you have with your mother, for example, that maybe she'll invest $25,000 with you. That's not going to be what you need to get your first 10 million under management. And it's a misleading trigger. And by the way, I fell for that. The first time I got my first $25,000 investment entirely from online means, I was like, oh my God, it's on. Like, this person didn't know me. They sent me $25,000 and I was like, back up the truck. It's red panty night, right? From the Conor McGregor quote. And nothing can be further from the truth. It was like a unique occurrence. I didn't have any predictability of lead generation. And so I spent the rest of my kind of adult career building a process that would kind of do that. So if you're interested, the reality is almost focusing every bit of your attention to detail on the top of the funnel. How much attention can you get? If you do a poor job later down the funnel, from attracting, educating, nurturing, and then closing, it will matter less. The attention part is a good example of that. And so I'm currently doing that right on the show. I'm here to add value, and I like you, and I know the show is awesome. But at the end of the day, the more recognizable I am, my brand, and the more leads I have from an email standpoint, the likely is the more money that I'm going to raise. And this is a very different way of thinking about raising money than just 10 years ago, when way people would raise money is they join a country club, and every country club had one or two people that was in multifamily, and that's how they did it. That's not going to get you to the next level. The future of capital raising is the conversation that we're having at Raise Masters right now.
It's interesting. I know you're a part, actually, I'm not a member, but a strategic coach with Dan Sullivan. And one thing he talks about is, if you ask people what's easier, to double the size of your business or to 10x the size of your business, most people would say it's to double. But in fact, he thinks it's easier to actually 10x the size of your business, because you got to let go of a lot of the things. Otherwise, people think, I've got to, in order to 2x my business, I've got to work twice as hard. I've got to do twice as many of the things I'm doing right now. When in reality, what you're describing is, it's a whole nother framework to be able to get to that next level, and it's
Yes.
systems and processes. And I love that you talked about funnels, because I know just with ClickFunnels, you just got the one of the awards with ClickFunnels, right? One of the big awards that
That's right.
a million. You make $1 million through ClickFunnels, right? Which is awesome. So that's a real achievement. Congrats on that.
Thanks. Yeah, just for context for people that
Sure.
are not like super aware of what that is. So we have a mastermind that it's a $20,000 mastermind that we usually have a discount that's shortly available, like depending on when you talk to us, et cetera. That was for $10,000. And, our goal was to have 35 people join the mastermind, and 100 joined in like 8 months or something. And so we got an award for doing $1 million of revenue by the GOAT, Russell Brunson, who I think is probably the most influential marketer in the history of the world. And so that was cool. Got on stage with him, got a picture with him. But what's far more cool than that, the revenue is like points, but the cool part is that that's so many people that are getting access to like my best material. And now there's all these people that are raising $5 million and raising 100, like their first $1 million. And it's so cool to see that. And people quitting their W-2s and people buying their first $10 million property. That is the stuff that gets me out of bed. And I'm sorry to derail, but there's always a question about like, why would you teach people if you can do it? Why don't you spend all your time doing it? And that's a valid question to ask, but there's just nothing more fulfilling than having someone else achieve their goals much faster, in part because of you. Like every single one of our members, they're going to get wherever they want to go. But man, it's a lot more fun if you do it in 3 years as opposed to 30. And so that's what everything I do is kind of focused on.
Well, I think you kind of touched on it too. I mean, this is why guys like Tony Robbins or people that are really trying to help other, it's obvious, that this is somebody who's really trying to help someone else. There's nothing like seeing someone that you were able to encourage or help to get to that next level. And I mean, to me, I can tell you as well, I have a very big why of wanting to make an impact in the world. In order to do that, you're going to have to reach a lot of people.
Yes.
And really, and somebody can say, well, how does this relate to me raising $5 million for my deal? I think it's very related, because I think the more you focus on what you need, the less you're able to really reach more people and do more. The more you focus on kind of, what others need. And it reminds me of the Zig Ziglar quote of, you can have everything you want. You just got to help enough other people get what they want. And so kind of on your journey, it's just, if you're focused on serving people and you put them first, people see that and they see that it's genuine. And I think from you, they see it's genuine. Hopefully for me, and hopefully from people that are trying to get to the next level, is just trying to, how do I create and add more value? Hunter, I want to shift gears for a minute. And I just think this is a really cool story, but I know you had a background doing some stuff with poker, and you were like a poker whiz and you were making money. I don't know. Can you get into that story, kind of what you did and how you did it, maybe how that applies to kind of some of the, because you're very strategic in what you do now. So I know a lot of people that do multifamily or investing of all sorts, poker has kind of been a central part. I also play some Texas Hold'em occasionally, so we'll get together. But can you talk just a little about your poker background and kind of how you did that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many stories that I can get into, but to keep it brief, there was something really exciting that took place in 2005 and 6 and 7 in particular, which was something called the poker boom, which to a large degree was created when a gentleman that was a CPA, I believe he purchased a ticket to a $17 tournament. He won that. That got him a ticket to a $200 ticket, a tournament, which he won, which got him a ticket to the World Series main event, which is a $10,000 tournament. So this guy that was a CPA about 3 hours outside of Memphis, Tennessee, which is where I'm from, basically buoyed his way from a $17 entry fee to a $10,000 entry fee to like play with some of the best in the world. And then he won the main event and won $1 million.
He's moneymaker, right? That's who it was, right?
So that's the thing. From a marketing standpoint, his legal name is Chris Moneymaker. So the excitement of all of this created what a lot of people refer to a poker boom, which is a multi-billion-dollar boom into the industry, where everyone thought, hey, I can be the next money maker. And they're right. But because of how soft the games were and how much money was involved, if you're a college student, which I was at the time, and you didn't want to get a job, which I never did, and you wanted to take it seriously and you wanted to get a coach and do all the things that we know now to do if we want to get really good at something, you can make 10 or 20 or $30,000 a month playing cards. And that's exactly what I did. And I had a really big month in April of 2007 and thought, I should take this seriously. Like, this is like doctor money and I'm not studying to be a doctor. So like, we should get this going. And so I did a summer, I played seriously. I probably played somewhere around 400,000 hands of poker, which to some pros is not a lot, but I was probably playing 30,000 hands a month during that summer. Had a great summer, won some money, but it's not scalable, right? And I kind of got the intuition was I can learn anything. That's what it discovered for me. You can learn how to do anything on the internet. If you find people and model what they do, get coached either in a group setting or one-on-one, you can be an expert. And so the interesting thing about poker now, especially because the games have gotten much, much harder, if you're able to make like 6 figures playing poker, you can probably make 7 figures doing anything else. because it's a very, very hard game, especially now. So like if you know how to do that model, get a coach, build a network, all your friends and family all of a sudden like know you as the poker person and all your friends are poker people. Like if you do that in some other industry, especially a real estate type of investment business or digital products, info products, software, like if you put that energy towards those really scalable, lucrative sectors, you're going to have huge success. And so though I was just a college kid at the time, I basically recognized I can't really build a business around this. I've got to go into another sector. And then boom, 2008 happened. And it was really clear where my intuition and ability to go right when people are looking left kind of was going to play its role. So here we are.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting story. I think that's really neat. I think it's interesting in finance. If you look at people that are money managers or other things, a lot of them do poker as well. But it is an interesting. I appreciate you sharing kind of the journey along the poker path. But it is also interesting, like you said, about with multifamily or learning to raise money for other things. It's a similar process, right? Like you get coaching, you do a lot of it, you spend time with it, you spend time. I was just talking with Christina Sooner recently and talking about networking and education. It's a lot of the same type of skills that you need. And of course, for you, now that you've scaled your business to be this big, it's neat how you're putting the pieces in place. And kind of before the interview, you're talking about hiring more people and putting more people here, and it's great problems to have. Like there's a growth problem, right? There's more growth, so you need to figure out how to support that and grow to the next level and all of that. So Hunter, just on a personal level, like what does this look like for you? So now you've scaled this up. You've got a huge kind of mastermind group. You've got 55 million you've raised. You've got a great conference. I know the IA, or the Intelligent Investor Conference I've been a part of is a great conference. What's kind of the next? What do you see like the next 5 to 10 years for you personally looking like?
Well, 2021 was, as you said, we built this business and hit seven figures of revenue. In that industry, in the way that I did it, it was basically like, how hard are you willing to work? And that put a lot of things, I did not live a balanced life in 2021 because I basically have two businesses. And the money just seemed to be on the table. The opportunity was there and someone else was going to take it if I didn't. And so it was just a matter of how hard are you willing to try? And so I've heard of like a lot of people that have a similar experience where the first million of revenue is basically the CEO show, but it's not the way to get to 10 million. And so it's going back to our previous conversation about the next level is the next level. Like in order to get to 10, you don't work 10 times harder. In fact, sometimes you don't work harder at all. And I can't work harder than I did in 2021. Things are starting to calm down now, but I've brought on some really serious senior people to help me get to that number without working harder and also working more within my unique ability. You mentioned Dan Sullivan, for example. Like, if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, I think some people think, man, if I could hire another one of me, then our business would double or whatever. That's not even possible. But number two, is not even the most advantageous thing. What you want is to hire someone that it can do things you couldn't possibly imagine. And I can tell you for a fact that that is a reality. That is possible. There are savages out there just like you, but with different skills, and they're not cheap. But man, the moment you bring them on, you're like, whoa, like you already paid for your salary. That stuff is totally a reality. Now, if you had interviewed me on this topic 12 months ago, I would not be in a position to make that claim because I hadn't made that commitment yet. But I am now in that position to make that claim. And it is so, so different when for my example, if you've read any of the books Traction or Rocket Fuel, I'm very much the visionary. I have a little bit of the integrator kind of personality, meaning that I can both conceptualize ideas and also implement them. But if you are a visionary and you hire an integrator and they can just get stuff done and all you do is come up with the ideas, it is a different energy than trying to do both. And I am seeing it happen right now in my business. And so I want more of that. And it's not from a perspective, oh, I just like look at the bank account, how fun. No, it's about what could we possibly create? I mean, everybody listening to this probably feels morally obligated to help the people that they love and maybe some that they don't know or even have never heard of get money out of the stock market casino and into these recession resistant, predictable cash flow vehicles. And I feel so fulfilled when I'm able to play my role in that war against the normal way of thinking about money. And so these team members are a vehicle to that end so that people can retire 10 years, 20 years before they thought they could. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Hunter, I feel like you're just talking to me when you're sharing this, because it's like, yeah, to grow to the next level, you got to be willing to bring on people that are next level. And like you said, I love the word savage. I've heard the word savage a number of times lately, but from like real estate people, like, oh, they're absolutely savage. And like savage is actually like a really good thing, that you just like take it, just tear, the competition apart, or you go after whatever you're going after, but it's a really good thing.
Oh, sorry, can I interrupt? I know this is supposed to be a short interview, but I can't help myself.
Sure.
The reason I said that there is that we're currently hiring an executive assistant position. That is the definite, it's like there isn't a higher level of an executive assistant. First of all, this isn't just my thoughts. My wife is like, you need to like get a new, like, this is a huge role for a lean and mean company. The EA role is critical. And so I talked to one of my mentors and they're like, this is what you should pay. And I'm like, no way. Like, I can't even believe there's anyone, even publicly traded companies, that pay much for an executive assistant. And there are, and you're about to be looking at one, but I've never talked about this publicly before. We just onboarded someone and they quit the next day, that we were trying to pay this kind of money. And what I completely underestimated was that this team, what we've created and what we do and the amount of projects and the amount of speed and the lack of resources, we are some savages. And so if you're used to cushy corporate America, clipping coupons for a high salary, this is not the company for you. We're going to move mountains with limited resources and a short timeline. And so now we're hiring only savages going forward.
Yeah. No, I love the term, because it's just like, this is not, like you said, a card punching, you come in and you do your time. This is like, no, you're a part of something where, like you said, we're moving mountains, we're doing all
Exactly.
this. So Hunter, that's awesome, man. I just really appreciate your energy, the way that you bring so much to not only multifamily, but the entire real estate space, and that it's really apparent that you really want to help people get to the next level. And I admire to be more like, I want to be more like that. I admire that. So I appreciate that about you. I just wanted to also say, as we're kind of wrapping up here, what's a good way people can, reach out or connect with you, or some of the things that you're doing?
So I'll follow my own rules, which is I never want to give you like a billion calls to action. But if you're interested in raising money, I know we talked about kind of building a business today and like my background, but if you're interested in raising money, we have a webinar that's free, that gives you like the entire structure of what we implement at the highest level. And that is at raisemasters.com/never-scramble. And you can get access to, it's like a 90-minute webinar presentation. Yes, we do talk about our mastermind. There's a lot of really good content. It's 122 slides of like capital raising fire hydrant to the dome. So check it out, and it's free.
So it should be never scramble, only savage.
Yeah, that's right.
I just kidding. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on today. This has been wonderful.
Thanks a lot.
So as you can see, Hunter Thompson he's a pro, right? He's been doing this a long time, and it can be a little intimidating when you're new and you're saying, I want to raise money. I want to, how could I ever raise $5 million in 30 days? And we actually had it where we raised $8 million in 24 hours, and it was unbelievable, right? But that kind of thing doesn't happen overnight. It happens with teams, it happens with developing yourself, developing your relationships, but it is possible. And that's the thing. I think what I really want you to capture from this interview is that Hunter kept talking about the next level. There's this level, and there's this level. And in order to get to the next level, you have to change your behaviors, right? There's that famous saying that says insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So one way to really get better is to get around people that are at the next level. Brian Tracy, I believe, says you are the average. Actually, I don't think it's Brian Tracy. Maybe it's Jim Rohn. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, who are you spending time with? Are you going to events? Are you going to meetups? Are you looking to network? Are you looking to educate yourself? Maybe even consider joining a coaching program or a mastermind for someone that can help you, or people that can help you to get to the next level. So Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really did. I feel like I got a lot of it. I loved how Hunter shared so authentically and openly about really where he's at in his business. And anyway, we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
You've been listening to the Mailbox Money Podcast. For more free resources, articles, and videos, go to bronsonequity.com. There you can download your copy of the special report, The Single Best Investment Strategy During and After a Pandemic. None of the information shared here is an offer to buy a specific investment, and this is for educational purposes only. Consult your financial, legal, and tax professionals and use your own common sense before making any investment decisions. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time for more Mailbox Money.